What's up, guys? I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. And we're going to get it started off with some quarterback discussions right away. What would it be any other way to not have some quarterback talk early on a Monday? Let's go. You know what time it is. So, obviously, as we all know, Trey Lance has concluded his second pro day. This time it was held with the 49ers, of course, in attendance. And it was good. It was a good pro day. It really was. I mean, from what we saw, again, all we're seeing is what North Dakota State's athletic department is allowing and releasing. So we only have limited information to go off of. But at that same time, again, with what Lance showed on tape, or at least from the pro day standpoint, I don't think too many people are surprised if you are aware of Trey Lance, his ability and everything going into this. Trey Lance, and we're going to stick with Trey Lance's pro day for a little bit, and I'll eventually get it pulled up on the screen. If you guys are over here on Instagram, you can head over to YouTube at the SF Niners, and I'll be pulling up some video here in a second. Let me get it pinned. The beard is always winning. So that's the thing. Let's start off with some Trey Lance discussions. So with Trey Lance and what he came out and did today, it was great. At least from what we saw, we got to see him moving to the left quite a bit, at least again from the videos that were released. And I think the biggest thing that I can take away that seems to be the same from Lance's pro day, Fields pro day, was Kyle's wanting to get these guys moving to the left. Kyle's wanting to get these guys outside the pocket and seeing what they're capable of while on the move. And of course, they're both right-handed, so he wants to see how they operate moving to the left. So that being said, with what Trey showed, he showed the ability to move to his left, roll outside the pocket, and again, the only throws that we have, and deliver with accuracy, great touch, and he's got a tight spiral. That thing just zips out of his hands. It looks really good here. Now I'll get some of these pulled up here in a second. If you are on YouTube, so let's get those going. I think the NFL, they're a nice little cut up, so we'll get that pulled up of some of Trey Lance's clips from today. And again, if you're on Instagram or watching over on YouTube, you'll be able to see the clips that we are looking at. So this is my thing. From a throwing standpoint, from a pure ability standpoint, nothing changed for me. If you've done the tape study and you've gone and you've watched Trey Lance and you are familiar with what he's capable of and all those kinds of things. Hold on a second. I just saw something come across the screen here. 49ers, we have some news, guys. We have some news. Not big news, but the 49ers are hosting former Giants running back Wayne Gallman. He is a free agent. He backed up Saquon Barkley last season. He is a former Clemson alum. I like that. I like Gallman a lot, so I have no problems with that. I like Gallman. I really do. I like Clemson guys. He's a Clemson guy. He's a good all-around back, so I don't mind that at all. So that's the news that just came across the screen. But why we're here is we're here to talk about Trey Lance. We're here to talk about his day today and what he executed. And from everything that I saw, again, it's all just going to be whatever we have available to us. It wasn't like we were working off a live stream or anything like that. Trey Lance looked good. He looked really good. He looked strong. Hold on, let me get this up. Trey Lance videos. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get the video pulled up, like I keep saying, and we can watch some of it while I talk about him. All right. Well, I guess I didn't post it to this one, so whatever. So with Trey Lance, he has the big arm. He really does. He has taken more snaps under center out of any quarterback that is entering the draft. That includes Field, not entering the draft, out of the top 5, I believe. That includes Lawrence. That includes Fields. Includes Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones might be leading as the least amount of snaps taken under center. But with Trey Lance, you just get to see, again, he's a really big guy. You could tell he's strong, and he's a young guy. He's only 20. So he has plenty of room for development and growth, and could be a legitimate player that continues to see growth in the NFL. And so one of the first things that I'll show on the screen here is just him executing a little bit of play action. Let me pull it up. Share screen. Bang. All right. So with this first play, this is Kyle Shanahan all over it. He wants to see the play action. He wants to see him taking snaps from under center, turn the back to the defense, hitch, and let the thing rip. Trey Lance throws a beautiful ball. He really does. He throws a beautiful ball. And that's why a lot of people talk about him in the way that they do, saying he is just has this huge ceiling, because we don't know 100% exactly what he is right now. With Trey Lance, he played really, really well in 2019. Unfortunately, due to the COVID year, he only played one game in 2020, and it was like a game that was thrown together last minute and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't get to see the development. We saw what he did in 2019. We didn't get to see how he progressed and worked off of that in 2020. Obviously, there's no tape available. We didn't see that progression, how he would play with some scrutiny, or with, people expecting him to play well at this point. So again, with Trey Lance, it's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff from today. But for me personally, from an evaluation standpoint, the pro day doesn't change anything for me, just like it didn't change anything for me with Fields. I was just really excited for Fields because clearly Fields is my guy. So to see Fields go out and execute the way he did, obviously we had the ability to watch his first pro day fully live and watch every throw and how he executed. Whereas Trey Lance, we hadn't traded up yet to that point when Trey Lance had his first pro day. We didn't trade up until after that. So honestly, with Trey Lance's pro day, I wasn't watching very closely because I knew Trey Lance was going to be a top 10 pick and wasn't going to fall out to 12. So at that time, I really didn't pay too much attention to that. So let's see, is this another one? Yeah, this is another one. This is a good one. So here we got Trey Lance again moving to his left. We've seen this similar throw in Justin Fields' workout. They simulate the pressure, get him rolling outside, throwing without really planting his feet. He's still able to show off the fantastic arm strength. I mean, he might Justin Fields gets a lot of crap for his throwing motion, and rightfully so. He really holds his elbow up really high. He does have a crazy high elbow. But with Trey Lance, his throwing motion is just so compact. It's really nice. He knows how to let that ball rip. He really does have a good throwing motion. He really does. Some of the other throws that they had, I'll just pull up. Let's see. We'll go NDSU. So he had some other good throws. Again, a lot of it was just kind of, showing some crossers, things of that nature. Trying to see. Here's another one that we haven't watched yet. Let's run that one back. So that's why people talk about Lance as this high ceiling guy, right? High ceiling. It's hard to really understand the floor, again, just because lack of tape in 2020. I think that's the biggest thing that's is hurting my evaluation of him, because again, you can't evaluate what you don't have. And so Trey Lance does a really good job, in game. What he's showing here in these drills is how he spins it in the game. So again, there's nothing negative to take away from any of these throws. The positives are he's still slinging it. He shows, again, the solid motion. He shows, his size, man. He just looks. He has the look, but he really has a good throwing motion. Just really, really, really good throwing motion. So that's why So he said, "Are you guys going to show us any of the videos?" I have my YouTube link post pinned because we are watching on YouTube. I can show you the screen. I can show you what I'm watching on YouTube. So if you guys want to make the great migration over to YouTube, you'll actually be able to see what I'm talking about over here. I'll get to your guys' comments in a second. He said he looks like a muscular Trey Young. So with Trey Lance, for me, again, we're looking at the pro day, and we're looking to see if this has changed anything about our evaluation or anything like that. With the videos that have been provided, which, hasn't been a ton of stuff, there's nothing that has changed my evaluation. But again, you shouldn't be using pro days as an evaluation tool necessarily, because basically, or for example, the 49ers made the pick up, traded up to 3 without being in person at the pro day. Although I believe, from what I've heard, Mike Shanahan was at the first one. So we're finding out Mike Shanahan might be a little bit more involved than we originally had anticipated. But I'll pull up some potential Lance highlights if we want to look at that. But so with the Fields Pro Day, or I'm sorry, I keep getting the boys confused. With Lance's Pro Day, there's nothing that I'm seeing that would change anyone's external evaluation. And again, I'm talking about like me anyone else who has the same access to these videos, people who have done the tape research and done the study on who the player is, there's nothing from these workouts that would detract from anything he's put on tape. And it also just kind of reiterates what he shows on tape. So from that standpoint, I don't think much changes in regards to my personal ranking. I personally have Fields above Lance. Again, part of the issue that I have with Lance as not Lance himself. He just doesn't have the tape. He doesn't have the 2020 tape. He just doesn't have that natural progression that you would like to see from a player who had a really good first year as a starter. Really want to see him take that next step, see how he progresses and matures within that season, matures having eyes on him, things of that, especially with a guy who was not highly recruited, had no big time D1 offers, none of that kind of stuff. So because of that, is it is a part of the evaluation that's hard to be more confident on. And to give you an example, right? Justin Fields was doing a Netflix show, I believe, as a senior in high school. So Justin Fields has had cameras around him and on him as, being one of the next up and coming elite quarterback prospects. He's had the hype surrounding him and following him. He's been to the mountaintop. He's been torn down. All of those kinds of things, like, go into the evaluation that have lifted Fields to be where I personally have him, where I can't look at Lance and be like, Lance wasn't a highly touted prospect. He didn't have, the fanfare around him. He didn't have the hype around him. He built all of that organically and just by being a good football player. And we saw what he did in 2019, and that was kind of really elevated him into that, top quarterback conversation for the upcoming draft. But unfortunately, we just didn't see him in 2020. So in 2020, it just becomes really hard to have, again, evaluations aren't apples to apples. So it's really hard to be so strong on Justin Fields about that part of the evaluation, going to a big school, dealing with the transfer from Georgia to Ohio State, playing extremely well, playing poorly, having to bounce back, dealing with national media narratives, things like that. You can't evaluate Trey Lance through that lens. You just have to kind of assume that he can handle that pressure. He can handle the anxieties that come along with being a top, prospect. It's just one of those things. It's really hard to compare apples to apples when one has a completely different journey than the other. It makes it a little bit difficult. So I'm gonna get some stuff up here in the background. Let's see, where are we guys at? So again, nothing has changed for me in regards to the evaluation. The evaluation has stayed the same throughout. I still like Lance. I still think Lance is a great fit for what Kyle does. I've been saying it all offseason. When I started saying it middle of last year, when all these quarterbacks were actually still playing and the draft discussions had started to pick up, because clearly I was already on Fields. I was already looking at Wilson. I was already looking at Trask and Mac Jones and those guys. But I hadn't looked at Lance yet. I hadn't. So when I pulled up, his film, and really started, diving in, you find out really quickly that Trey Lance is built to be able to play in the NFL, even though he's playing at, let's say an FCS level. He's still playing really well, and he's very efficient. They didn't ask him to throw too many times, and a lot of people use that as a knock against him. But honestly, you can only do what your OCs call. So at the end of the day, I don't think Fields did anything, or I'm sorry, I don't think Lance did anything to hurt himself. I don't think Lance did anything to hurt his stock. I still think it's the same. I just, it's going to be interesting. We got plenty of time left until the actual draft starts. We got 10 days. We got 10 days to talk about quarterbacks. And again, we're going to eventually start talking about other things. Hopefully, now that Trey Lance's pro day is over, we'll spend today again discussing this conversation, discussing the pro day, discussing the impact. Do Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch walk away thinking any differently than they did, a month ago? I personally don't think so. I think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and I came out and said this after his press conference, when they went up and traded for number 3, that means they had to be comfortable with one of the quarterbacks that was going to be available. I think it's clear as day Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 overall to the Jaguars. At that time of the trade, it felt like all the momentum was headed towards the Jets selecting Wilson at 2. So with that, and then how we transferred that to now, it honestly has felt like it's been between Trey Lance or Justin Fields, even though it's been Mac Jones constantly in our face, constantly Mac Jones at 3, constantly Mac Jones at 3. We even had Michael Lombardi, a well-respected national reporter, come out over the weekend, I believe it was, to say that there's a 98% chance that the 49ers are taking Mac Jones. I believe that's not even a statistical possibility for that to even occur. I believe it was like 31 point, like 5-7 teams believe that the 49ers are taking Mac Jones at 3. He even came out and then doubled down with some audio, and he had some words for all of us Twitter GMs out there who have basically been saying no to this Mac Jones conversation ever since it started. Oh, that's a good point. They're pushing Mac Jones because ESPN has an SEC contract. Well, I could see it. Follow the money, right? So with Mac Jones and that whole narrative, Michael Lombardi doubled down again. They went from 95% to 98%. Woo! Hold on now. Watch out. Mac Jones stonks are through the roof. Yeah, screw Dodge, screw any of that crypto, screw Bitcoin. You need to be investing in Mac Jones stock. I don't know if there's a way to actually turn Mac Jones into like a stock that you can purchase. But we should do that, right? Because right now, Mac Jones stonks are through the roof. 98% to the Niners. Again, if you bought your Mac Jones jersey, you're good. You're ahead of the curve. You bought your Mac Jones jerseys back 2 weeks ago when they said it's a done deal. It's not 95% anymore. It's 98%. It's 31 like 0.37 teams. So not oh my goodness. Oh look, Jimmy's on the screen. Go back. Jimmy. Why was Jimmy on the screen? Go back. Look, Jimmy's on the screen. Hey, Jimmy. Notable Walter Payton Award winners. Ooh. Jimmy Garoppolo in 2013 won the Walter Payton Award. Trey Lance won it in 2019. Uh-oh. Connect the dots. Is it time? Did we just uncover some conspiracy? So we're just watching Mac Jones tape again. If you're on Instagram, we're over here actually watching stuff on YouTube. And we're actually just watching Trey Lance tape, her broadcast version. And they showed a graphic showing notable Walter Payton Award winners, and I believe these are guys who've come from the FCS subdivision. And they got Jimmy Garoppolo as the 2013 winner of the award, and Trey Lance won it in 2019. My hat's taken a beating over the last couple days, but things happen for a reason. They just showed that. No, I'm just kidding. So I thought that was funny though that showed up on the screen. And that's again a perfect example of talent coming out of the FCS. FCS honestly doesn't matter where you come from. You can either play or you can't. And at the end of the day, Trey Lance can play. He's going to be a really good quarterback. Oh, here you go. Here's some numbers of him actually compared to Trevor Lawrence. And as they're both freshmen. So again, we're watching Trey Lance versus James Madison 2020 FCS championship. And they're showing Trevor Lawrence's numbers versus Trey Lance's numbers, both playing as freshmen. Trevor Lawrence had 30 pass touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence had 20. I'm sorry. These names are messing me up today. Trevor Lawrence had 30. Trey Lance had 28. Trevor Lawrence had 1 rushing TD. Trey Lance had 13 rushing TDs. Trevor Lawrence had 4 interceptions as a freshman. Trey Lance had 0 interceptions as a freshman. Both teams went 15-0. So again, from a statistical standpoint, that's pretty good company. I mean, you show comparisons, side to side. There's plenty of context that comes along with that, but just taking it for what it is and face value, looks all right. Looks good. But and this is one of the things that Trey Lance is a really good runner. He's such a different runner than Fields, though. Fields to me feels more like a running back with a shifty running back, whereas Trey Lance just looks like a bulldozer to me. He's like Henry from the quarterback position. Ooh, there's a little wiggle. Okay, I'm not dead completely. All right, stream is back. I guess it decided I wanted to take a poopy real quick on me. But we'll bring it back up. Just some technical difficulties. Hopefully the stream is back up for everyone. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully we're back and my internet doesn't crap out on me again. Hopefully we'll be all right. Here we got a touchdown pass from Trey Lance. Let's see what Trey Lance is all about on this touchdown. I was just talking about his ability as a runner. Trey Lance is really good ability as a runner, but he runs like a fullback. Not bad. Again, rolling out to his right. Runs mesh. Comes back. It's not bad. Man, I apologize. My day. I appreciate everyone who's sticking on, man, because that's now 2 times the stream's gone down due to poor internet connection. So hopefully that doesn't keep happening. I appreciate everyone who's staying on. I appreciate it. Oh gosh, internet is making me freak out. Stop it, internet. Stop it. YouTube should be back up. Knock on wood. Please don't go down, YouTube. We're doing so well. I would say though, if we had to look at both Trey Lance and Justin Fields from a throwing comparison, I really think Justin Fields is the more natural thrower. And when I say more natural thrower, I like to liken it to basketball, because when you think of like a natural athlete, at least from a basketball standpoint, you kind of I see more of like a Steph Curry in Fields, where they're technicians. They have the entire bag of tricks and repped it and done it from a technical standpoint. But at the end of the day, when it comes to just going out and playing, they just go out and play and they let it rip. And they can do a ton of things, off balance, off their spots, and they can create. Where Trey, to me, like, he can create, he can do things, he can escape out the pocket, use his legs and do things like that. But I feel like he's very stoic in the sense he wants. Okay. Am I back? Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? Hello? All right. Well, I'm going to keep the film down all kinds of Wi-Fi connectivity issues right now. I don't know what's going on. Wi-Fi is not liking me right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and keep the stream I'm just not going to show the YouTube videos that we were watching of Trey Lance. I'll just try and not overload the stream at this point since it can't handle it. It can't handle it. But we're back. Let's go. We're back. It's lit. So how about this? I'll turn over some of the questions to you guys. I know I haven't been able to read too many of the chat comments. So if you guys want to start dropping some questions for a discussion, drop them in. I'll start answering, and we can see where the conversation takes us. But until that point, again, I still feel like with what Trey Lance did today, again, let's recap the pro day. Let's recap what he's done up until this point. It was a good pro day. Nothing he did would detract from any of the conversations that have been had up until this point about Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a top tier prospect. Trey Lance is and has the potential to be one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. He really does. He has all the tools. He arguably, if he lands in the right spot, being a young kid and can develop. And I like to give a lot of respect to the Buffalo Bills because of how they developed Josh Allen. I think Trey Lance stream is not being nice to me today. Stream is not being nice to me today. I was ranting there for a second, but essentially what I was trying to say was what we saw from Lance's pro day shouldn't detract from anything of how we felt. He has the potential to be really good. Lands in the right spot, lands in a place that can develop him properly. Isn't going to put too much on his shoulders and expect him to carry the burden of an entire poor franchise. I think he can be successful. I think he can be really good. But I think for me personally, it still feels like Fields for me. It still feels like Fields for the 49ers, although they're still talking about Mac Jones at 3. They really are. They really, really are. It's playing against nobody. Yeah, and again, that's the thing. That's why we always say scout the player, not the school. A lot of people, you can't. It's not a player's fault that he doesn't get to play in the SEC every single week. It's not his fault. I'm not gonna, use that against him. Because you can quantify certain things. You can try and project certain throws. You can try and think, all right, an NFL cornerback or a safety has the range and the movement skills to be able to be 2 steps quicker than what that cornerback just showed. You can find ways to use lower level tape to project to the next level. It's just all about the context that you're watching it with and all that kind of stuff. So I'm less worried about who they played against. Again, my favorite thing to say when we talk about what school they went to, Jerry Rice went to Mississippi Valley State. It doesn't matter. You either play or you can't. And that's why they pay these scouts. That's why that Kyle and John Lynch, they get the big bucks because it's up to them to determine who translate and who doesn't. Because not everyone translates. And that's why we're having these discussions. That's why we're discussing pro days and doing things of that nature as we're trying to figure out what translates, what doesn't translate, and what the 49ers are looking for in that regard. And again, I made my decision on who the best fit for the 49ers would be at quarterback way back in January, way back before I thought it was even possible that the 49ers would get their hands on a rookie quarterback. again, this is a dream to me. I never thought the 49ers would find themselves in a position to be able to do this. But here we are. And I still feel that it is Justin Fields' job at 3 to lose. But we'll see. It just comes down to, at the end of the day, what Kyle's looking for. And with Trey Lance, he has the tools. He has the frame. He has the intangibles. He has the mental ability. He's really smart. They put a lot on his plate at North Dakota State. They really did. They really, really did. And he was able to manage it all. So we'll see. We're going to see. Kyle Pitts at 3. No. Nope. 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 We are not trading up to take a tight end. Not going to happen. Richie says we missed out on Prescott. We missed out on Lamar, but we weren't hunting for Lamar or that type of quarterback. And he's just saying we better not miss out on Fields. Yeah, we missed out on Dak. I'll never forget that. I love to tell that story, that draft story, any chance I get about passing on Dak, because I was a Dak truther. Dak, I was on Prescott Hive big time. I really wanted the 49ers to draft him and to watch them pass on him just to be able to go 2 picks later to Dallas haunts me to this day. Mark asks, do you think we pick Justin Fields? Yes, I still feel the same. I feel like Justin Fields is the guy for the 49ers. Again, you have to put your tinfoil cap on. Got to put the tinfoil cap on to really try and disseminate all the information. So based on the entire progress of the offseason, again, being a Fields guy from day one and looking at everything, not only from that lens, but, from the Jimmy Garoppolo lens, from the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan lens, from, a potential trade, that type of lens when it was, Sam Darnold, Deshaun Watson, all those kinds of guys, and moving through the process and just moving through the situation. It really feels like that it's Justin Fields, and it always has felt like that. Again, you go back to the QB collective, who is ran by Kyle Shanahan's agent. They employ all the coaches that we see that are connected to Kyle Shanahan. Almost all of those coaches that have worked with Justin have nothing but glowing reviews for Justin. John Beck, if you want to look at John Beck, the guy who's been training Justin Fields for the last 3 months while training Zach Wilson at the same time. They have been training together and they have been competing against each other. I think that was one of my favorite things that I heard Justin Fields say when they did his interview and talking about his off-season training. He was talking about how he was training with Zach Wilson and how they competed in their workouts. And they competed and worked and continue to help each other develop. And again, we had our first tinfoil hat meeting 2 weeks ago at this point because of John Beck, the quarterback coach who has trained Wilson and Fields, who was Kyle Shanahan's former quarterback when Shanahan was coaching in Washington. The dots between Fields, Wilson, Beck, Shanahan, everyone involved, the ties are too strong. They're too strong for my liking. to be able to be moved off of what Fields, again, and that's with guys like Michael Lombardi. Lombardi, I got respect for Lombardi. Lombardi, for the most part, has good information and things of that nature. But when he came out and said 98% Mac Jones, doubles down, then goes on to like a podcast where he's basically saying, what do you Twitter GMs know? You think your sources are better than my sources? And I would say at this point, yes, I do think my sources are better than your sources, Michael Lombardi. And I'm not trying to grandstand or one up anyone. I don't care. I'm talking to you guys out of my garage. I really don't care. But I would say, yes, our sources are better than yours, Michael Lombardi. That's why we haven't wavered. That's why we have not moved. That's why we're still here. That's why it's hashtag anyone but Mac. It's not Mac Jones. Keep pushing that on us. It's fine. We don't care. We just don't. We don't care. We really don't care. Because we've been through smoke season before. We've been through tinfoil hat season before. This isn't new to us. This isn't new to us. So, still, anyone but Mac. And that's just how it's going to be. It's how it's going to be. What is this question saying? Let me see here. So let's see. And again, I'll start trying to get to some questions. I'm trying. I got to one. Let's see if I can find another one. Fields did beat Lawrence at Elite 11. Again, I think that's when I'm evaluating quarterbacks, I'm evaluating so much more than talent. So much more than talent. When I'm evaluating quarterbacks, honestly, talent, of course, is important. So it's a really hard discussion to have and talk about and say, like, well, talent's not the only thing that matters, because yes, you have to be talented. You have to be a talented quarterback. You have to be able to throw accurate passes. You have to have the arm strength, in different degrees. It doesn't have to be max. Like, when you think of Madden, right, and you think of the bar and everything needs to be at 100, like max throw power, middle of the field accuracy, deep accuracy, short 100. Like, it doesn't need to be hundreds across the board. I would say you need to be in the 80s or over to be able to be competent in the NFL. But in the NFL, what makes a difference is your processing, your mind, how you handle adversity, how you deal with mistakes, how you deal with media, how you deal with pressure, how you deal with all of those things. That is a huge part of the eval for me. So, and that's one of the things that's hard to evaluate Trey Lance the same way I evaluate Justin Fields, because they have such different trajectories. Like, they have such different starts, and basically, how they've branched to become where they are. Like it says from Dank Burrito on YouTube, Fields did beat Trevor Lawrence at Elite 11. Fields is built for this. Fields has been built and been prepping to be a top 5 draft pick since he probably entered high school. So when you have those kinds of kids, again, we talked about Justin Fields beating Lawrence in the Elite 11. We talked about Fields being on a Netflix series as a senior in high school. So again, imagine all that hype, right? Imagine all the hype. hype of beating Trevor Lawrence in Elite 11, being known as one of the best quarterback prospects going through the high school ranks. You're playing in 7-on-7 passing leagues, I bet, like every other week. Like these people, like rivals in overtime, want a piece of you because you're content for them. So everyone wants a piece of you. Then you go to college, you go to Georgia, and you're supposed to be the next guy, right? You're supposed to be Trevor Lawrence level type, whatever. You're an elite prospect. You're expected to go into the school that you're going to take over the starting role and win. Well, that didn't happen for Justin Fields at Georgia. Jake Fromm was there. It sounded like there's some other stuff that went on behind the scenes, and he decided to transfer. So based on everything that I've heard about Justin Fields and his transfer, was that was very difficult for him. Mentally, going through that whole situation again, talk about being under a microscope already, talking about the expectations that are heaped on you from others who don't know you. And then all of these things where a guy like Justin Fields is basically told, hey, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, and then goes to Georgia and it doesn't pan out like you expect it. Fields was able to still make the transfer, change schools, change everything that he envisioned for himself, leaving his hometown and his home state school, changing all of that to be able to essentially weather that storm, win that job, take over, and then basically do nothing but thrive. So at that point, it becomes, there's just so much that goes into the evaluation at that level of going to the top, coming back down, having to transfer, then getting back to the top, then being torn down your entire, what was it, his junior year. You know, you have the Northwestern game, you have the 2 games, the Indiana game where he did not play, did not have his best game and was torn down. And then you see him bounce back after Indiana. You see him bounce back after Northwestern. You see him bounce back and then have the ability to take and destroy Clemson, dismantle Clemson. I can't have that same evaluation for Trey Lance. And that's a huge part of the evaluation for me. Huge part. Such a big part. So for me, being an outsider, looking, how do I take something that makes me believe so much in Fields? How do I associate that with Lance? You can't. It becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult at that point. So again, with me, it's I made my decisions again back in December, back in January. So essentially all I've been doing since then is gathering more information, watching more tape, listening to more people who have experience with him, doing those kinds of things, and just, again, gathering more and more and more information. And so I've been in information gathering mode since January. And again, my bar just keeps getting raised higher and higher and higher with Fields. But again, there's certain things in that eval that I can't evaluate about Trey where I stand. So maybe someone who has the insight, who can pick up the phone, call his coach, can go to his pro days, have a conversation, do all those kinds of things. They can find that information out much better than I can. But just based on the things that I've been able to watch, Fields is legit. Fields is legit. So let's see real quick who you guys are taking. I want to see. So I'll pull you guys up. Like if you're on YouTube, I'll pull you guys over. So I just want to see real quick. I just want to see. Let's do a test. Let's do a test really quick. Let's see. Drop in the chat. Drop in the chat if you want Fields, if you want Trey Lance, or you want Mac Jones. Let me know, and I'll pull your guys' answers across. So we got one already. Already got one Fields. 100. That means, oh, we got a Lance. We got you guys are wild. It's another Field. Trey Lance, Fields. Oh, wow. You guys are going fast. Fields. Lance. Ooh, this one gave me the 43rd pick, too. I like that. So we got Fields and Diami Brown at 43. Nice. I like that. Lance barely over Fields, but still loves Fields. The Watchman wants Wilson. Do you get your shot? Maybe New York fumbles it and they go Fields, which I would not like. Fields. If Wilson gone, Lance. Fields. Lance. Oh, whoa. Fields. Lance. This works too, Raymond. You can say anyone but Mac. That works as well. That is an acceptable answer. Fields. Jay says Fields is the only correct answer. You got Adrian saying Fields. Jalen saying Fields. Wayne saying Lance. Jackson, you're out of your mind. David saying Fields. Herman saying Fields. Nelson saying Wilson. I'll take Wilson. Wilson is a correctable answer. We got Lance. Take Field over Lance. Sorry, Dank Burrito. We're not playing that game. Is Trey Lance a week one starter? That's a good question. I might have to circle back to that one. Zach Wilson, Lance, Fields, Lance, Sourdough Brad. Good answer. Fields great, baby. We do know that when you say Fields great, baby, it's just such a slap in the face to Jimmy, right? Like, we know that. You guys know that when you're saying Fields great, baby, like, that's just such a whatever. I don't care. These are your answers. Oh, wow. You guys are pouring them in. Let's see. Fields. Lance 100%. Fields at 3. Fields for the bowl. Trey Lance is who I want. It's actually a lot more split than I would imagined. Fields. Use check. Quarterback 1. Jose says Fields. Oh, Mark is from Germany. Thank you for checking in, my guy. I really appreciate that. We got a big Germany following. I don't know why. I don't know if that's because of Mark. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name because I butcher it every single time. Mark was from Germany. Mark played really good for us for a couple years. Oh, we got Fields and Elijah Moore in the second round. Fields or go home. Jimmy G will start regardless. Fields or Lance. Fields. Lance gives you Mahomes vibes. I actually put out a spicy tweet. Saying Trey Lance is more pro ready than Mahomes was coming out. That one blew up. Well, Lance, the upside is worth it with Jimmy G starting. Oh, Mark is saying in Germany, all Niner fans are saying Fields. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we've seen an actual Mac Jones vote yet. Jamal says Fields for show. He has a Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson like ceiling, and he's been a leader for years. Jamal, I agree with you, my guy. I really, really do. I really, really do agree with you. Let's see. Yeah, so you guys are. I think you guys are on the same vibe. It's basically anyone but Mac. There's actually a lot more Trey Lance believers than I anticipated. It honestly. Oh, there's a Mac Daddy. There we go. Oh, great picture, by the way. That is a great picture. So I've seen this question, I think, in multiple spots. Hells, I see you on IG. Just want to make sure I'm not letting my IG folks go to waste here. But the question is Justin Fields a day one starter? And my answer is yes, 100%. I honestly think all top 5 quarterbacks are day one starters in the NFL. I really believe that. I believe that the NFL has gone away from developing players like a lot. I don't think that the NFL stands for not for long. It doesn't. It stands for National Football League, but a lot of people call it the NFL means not for long because I believe the average shelf life of all players, I believe, is around 3 years. So with that being said, with these quarterbacks, I feel like over the last 10 years, after watching all these quarterbacks continue to come in, they seem to be thrown to the wolves pretty quickly. And some guys that just come to my head, the top of my head, is like Blaine Gabbert, Blake Bortles, Christian Ponder, EJ Manuel, Jake Locker. I mean, if you want to talk about like guys like Mariota, Winston, like all of these guys, Daniel Jones, they all just, I think, are expected to play early and quickly. The difference is with like the guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's, they had their franchises completely built around them and understand that, hey, we're going to start these guys day one, but we're going to understand that they're still developing and we're going to ensure that they develop the right way. And then you get guys like Sam Darnold who are taken high, start right away, not put in a position to be successful, to be developed, have weapons surround them, have continuity with the coaching staff, all of that stuff. And you see their careers kind of fall to the wayside. So, and then they're on to the next. Like, look, the Jets are on to the next. Sam Darnold is 23 years old. They decided, you know what? We're going to go with another young quarterback. Like, you're 23. I bet there's plenty of potential for you, Sam Darnold, to still become a better quarterback and develop and become what we expected from you when we selected you number 3 overall back in 2018. But guess what? We're not going to do that because we're impatient. So that's the thing, is that the NFL just turns and burns. turns and burns. The old days of your Steve Youngs sitting behind guys for years, Brett Favre, like right now, Jordan Love is the only one who's been drafted really with the intention of sitting and learning for the Packers, right? So we'll see what Jordan Love becomes. We don't know. He's sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. But other than that, you see the opposite. Is you see all these guys being thrust into being starters day one. You know, you look at Russell Wilson, third-round prospect, back when he was drafted. The Seahawks spent huge money. I think it was on Flynn. You guys remember Flynn? I'm blanking on his full name. But they threw him a bunch of money. He was going to be a starter. Wilson came out, balled out preseason. And they said, you know what? You're going to start day one. I think the same situation happened with Derek Carr. They were going to bring Derek Carr along really slowly. He balled out preseason. He said, you know what? You're going to start week one. Matt Flynn, thank you guys. So that's the thing, is the NFL has been moving away from this like let the rookie develop type situation for a while. But I think now more than ever, it makes the actual sense. It makes sense. I think teams can do that now because, again, like what we've talked about with these Justin Fields, with these Trevor Lawrences, with these guys at these big time programs who have been elevated since high school, it changes the maturation process than what it used to be. With all these different QB coaches now, 7-on-7 passing leagues, all that kind of stuff, these quarterbacks can mature much younger than they used to. Like I'm talking about 20 years ago, 10 years ago even. The maturation process has changed quite a bit because football from the youth level has evolved immensely for good reasons. And so I think you're seeing that trickle uphill finally, where you're seeing these young quarterbacks who have been basically built in a lab and basically funneled through this process to now be elevated to be an NFL draft pick and be ready to go day one. So again, the original question, and I do this a lot, the original question is Fields a day one starter? Back to all the things we've talked about, him being in a, 11 on Elite 11 champion, being able to be a top prospect, being able to survive transferring from one college to the other, being able to elevate Ohio State the way he elevated Ohio State, the adversity that he fought through constantly throughout his time there, his ability to show toughness, all of those things. To me, day one starter. Day one starter. And I'm talking day one, like after he's been drafted, day one. Like we do the press conference kind of situation, and then it's like, all right, now you're the starter. It's like start preparing for the upcoming season as if you're the starter. I think that's what Justin Fields is. I don't think Justin Fields needs to wait. I don't think any of that stuff needs to occur. Honestly, I still think Dank Burrito says he'd say the NFL evolved to the college game more so than the other way around. And I would still kind of disagree with that statement because, the college still runs a ton of the air raid type offenses. Those don't translate at all. You can ask Cliff Kingsbury how well his air raid scheme is translating to the NFL. It's not. It's too easy. It's too easy to figure out. It's not complex enough. And that's the thing with, if you want to talk about the college kind of spread out game, maybe translating a little bit more, I could understand that. But I think a lot of the same philosophies in the NFL still apply. Making your reads pre-snap, Basically, your wide receivers are running routes based on defensive concepts, based on if they're playing man, based on if they're playing off, all of those kinds of things. You don't do that in college. In college, they hold up a picture. You run the route that associates with whatever you're supposed to do. In the NFL, you need to be galaxy brained, headed to the line of scrimmage, reading the defense, understanding the coverage, being able to call protections, do all those things, know exactly where everyone is. I don't think that changes in the NFL. That does change. It's not like that everywhere. In college, Trey Lance, it was like that for Trey Lance at North Dakota State. I think that's one of the underrated things about Trey Lance is that he was responsible for a lot of the protections and being able to diagnose things pre-snap, even post-snap. Once the play has been snapped and coverages change and they shift back, after disguising and doing other things, that's a whole nother part of the process. So although maybe you're seeing the NFL kind of open up more to the spread, like, more throwing out of, I believe I always get them mixed up. 11 personnel, 21 personnel. I think it's 11 personnel. 11 personnel is 3 wide receiver sets and a tight end. So I still think the NFL is so much more advanced than what college will ever be because, again, you're constantly, and I think Day talked about this. Day talked about this on an interview, and he was the head coach at Ohio State who, of course, coached Justin Fields. He had mentioned how college schemes are constantly changing and evolving because every year you have a new crop of player. Every year you're having guys with different talents and different traits and all of those kinds of things. So he was saying as a, offensive coordinator, you're constantly fitting your scheme to who you have, not the other way around. Whereas the NFL is a little bit more finicky. They're going to fit the player to their scheme. We're lucky we have a guy in Kyle Shanahan. He will do whatever he needs to do to be successful. So that's one of the benefits. We didn't see that with Jim Harbaugh. We didn't see that with Greg Roman. We didn't see those guys evolve their offense to fit the personnel and the scheme that they had. And we saw them flame out of the league essentially as a result because they weren't able to adapt their schemes and their offense to fit a player like Colin. And again, Alex Smith retired today. We haven't talked about that yet. Alex Smith retired today. At the time, Alex Smith was a better fit for what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman were trying to execute than Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was great in so many different ways. But with what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman were executing with the multiple tight end fullbacks, that was perfect for Alex Smith. Take care of the football. Don't turn it over. Hand it off to Gore. Play action. Doesn't work? Okay. Kick field goal. That was the recipe. And then when they decided to make the switch from Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick, the offense stayed the same, and that was their biggest downfall because they tried to change it, but it wasn't who they were. They weren't adaptive as coaches. They had their own specific way of how to execute their scheme and do it, and they didn't feel confident enough to be able to execute it as they did against Green Bay, opening day. I think it was 2014. Kaepernick threw 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, eviscerated Green Bay in that new scheme, the evolved scheme that we had all wanted to see. Then they went up to Seattle next week, got punched in the mouth, went back to the old style offense. Kaepernick struggled, offense struggled, everyone got fired. And that's all she wrote. So we're lucky because we have a coach in Kyle Shanahan who will adapt his scheme to fit his players. So I'm not worried. Not worried about that whole scenario playing out again, because I understand that we have a coach. Doesn't matter if it's Mac Jones. It doesn't matter if it's Trey Lance. It doesn't matter if it's Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't matter who is in there. Kyle Shanahan will make his scheme work to the best of the ability of the quarterback who is playing for us. You saw that in Washington with RG3. You saw that in 2019 with Jimmy Garoppolo coming off a torn ACL and playing his first full year as a starter. You see how Kyle Shanahan as a coach makes everything work for whoever he has. And that is a huge underrated benefit that the 49ers have, fans have, in our back pocket. Like, at the end of the day, we don't want Mac Jones. No one wants Mac Jones because we look at him as a capped prospect. We look at him with the cap ceiling. You look at all the things that we're talking about with the offense and Kyle Shanahan being this great schemer and play designer and all of these different things. But yet you're telling us it's Mac Jones, a guy who will limit Kyle's scheme. That's where we have issues. And that's why we don't believe it. Because Kyle is going to always want to continue to push the envelope with his scheme, what he's trying to do, and what he's trying to succeed at. So why would you take a quarterback that caps what you can do? Why would you do that? He wouldn't, which is why Mac Jones is not at play at 3. There are other reasons why Mac Jones is at play at 3. But honestly, it's not because of his ability. It's other things. It's the business side. It's the whole business side. That is why we're talking about Mac Jones at 3. But when it comes to the football side, that's why we're banging the table for Justin Fields, because, again, we scout coach. I scout coach. I scout Kyle Shanahan. It's one of the things that back in 2018, early 2018, I said emphatically, Kyle Shanahan is my favorite 49ers coach of all time. Again, I wasn't born during Seifert era. I wasn't born during Bill Walsh era. I did not get to experience any of those guys. I didn't. You know, I know how good they are. I know how great they are. But just from my personal experience, it took me losing all of 2017 and then starting out 2018 almost the same way, but still being like, Kyle Shanahan is my favorite 49ers coach of all time. And again, I just went on a rant about some of the reasons that would play into me not picking Jim Harbaugh over Kyle. Because, again, Jim started out hot, but he fizzled fast. Kyle started out slow, injured, nothing going on for him, and he still had his team fighting every single week. He still had his boys fighting every game. The energy was always up. They were always fighting. They were always trying. That's how I knew. I was like, man, Kyle is showing me more in losing years than what Jim Harbaugh showed me in winning years. So, again, I'm big on knowing how you handle adversity as a football player. I'm big on it. Huge on it. Because to me, that tells you who you are at your lowest times. And that means if I know that you can be someone who's successful at your lowest times, dude, what are you going to be at your highest heights? A lot of that plays into Justin Fields and how that whole situation plays out. But hey, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put some respect on Jim Harbaugh, though. I'm going to put some respect on Jim Harbaugh. That guy came in when we had not much going for us as 49er fans. Obviously, there was a little hype with Singletary when Singletary took over as interim head coach. They were kind of rattling off some games. The energy was on point. We were like, oh, maybe, and Singletary, of course, had all the cachet and the clout and all that stuff behind him, and we thought he was going to be legit. Turned out it wasn't the case. But Harbaugh came in from an energy perspective. I think Harbaugh is one of the great motivational head coaches that we've seen in some time. For him to come in, the who got it better than us. Oh, it was beautiful. It was so good. Some of the happiest football moments of my ever. You can never take that away from me. What Jim Harbaugh did to be able to motivate a group of alpha men. I'm talking about he walked into a locker room with Justin Smith, they drafted Alden, but he walked in with Patrick Willis. Did they draft Bowman? Man, I can't believe how long it's been. But they essentially, he had guys on the squad already. He had Staley, he had Davis, he had Gore, he had a bunch of guys that were legit NFL players and came in and got everyone to buy in. That's half the battle. Half the battle is getting everyone to buy in. That's half the battle as a head coach. So, man. Oh, dude. The Jim Harbaugh era was so much fun. It was so much fun. And I think that's why the decline hurt so bad. Is because it was so fun at the start. We thought, put some respect on Mike's name, Mike Nolan. I'm okay. And what he was able to do, some of the pieces that they brought in, the motivation. Again, you remember that 2011 team, the 13-3. The offense did not look good. The offense was not fun to watch. It wasn't fun to watch because they would go 3 and out. They would do the thing, or they just run. Check downs, things like that. Kick field goal. Akers, I think, was the leading points in 49ers history in a season, I think, that year, because he kicked so many field goals. But the defense is complementary football. The defense, special teams, offense, all of it working together, plus the hype. Tony Montana squad. Who's got it better than us? Man, good times. Really, really good times. It was a lot of fun. And so, even in that scenario, we're kind of looking at a situation that could be linked back to the. I see someone saying it over here. The guy who passed on Aaron Rodgers. So the 49ers are headed into a situation that is kind of familiar territory in a sense, because the 49ers, although we're not picking one, it still feels like we're picking one, because we're getting a quarterback. We're going to get a top tier elite quarterback. Although it's not at one, still feels like we're at one. And there's still an opportunity to pass on top tier elite guys. So this 49er fan base is so preloaded with issues at the quarterback position that, we saw what happened, with Aaron Rodgers and the 49ers passing on him, selecting Alex Smith as a result. Obviously, the career that Aaron has had has been Hall of Fame worthy and things of that nature. But could we be on the brink of something like that again? Where you take the wrong guy and gonna sting for a while. It's gonna sting for a while. Oh, man! I just realized I haven't even announced this yet. So, Mark says, stung so many times with QBs. The last QB that he really liked was Jeff Garcia. So tomorrow, crazy. Tomorrow, Jeff Garcia will be joining me on live. Super, super excited to have Jeff Garcia, former 49ers quarterback, will be hopping on the live here at the SF Niners. We are going to be talking about, obviously, quarterbacks. We're going to be talking about Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones. I want to know everything that Jeff Garcia is thinking about in regards to these quarterbacks. I really, really want to know how he feels, how he's viewing this. Again, I can only view it from what I view it. I'm an O-lineman. I didn't play the position. So I'm super excited to get Jeff Garcia on and just talk to a quarterback about playing quarterback. I'm super hyped get Jeff on. So that's going to be fun. Tomorrow I might have said 2. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will have Jeff Garcia, former quarterback for the 49ers. He will be joining the live, and we are going to be talking quarterback prospects. So I'm really excited to do that with Jeff. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I'm gonna have to ask Jeff about some of the good old days. We're not gonna let him just get on here and talk about, quarterback prospects. We're gonna have to talk to Jeff about the good old days. We're gonna have to talk to Jeff about the good old days. I want to know some of those stories from back in the heyday. So I'm excited to get Garcia on, man. It's going to be such great insight. Again, being able to ask a guy who's been so successful in the NFL, and someone says it here, Garcia is criminally underrated. If fantasy football existed when Jeff Garcia was a quarterback, he would have millions of dollars. Like he would have been a household name if fantasy football existed with Jeff Garcia was around. Oh my goodness, household name. Everyone would know who Jeff Garcia was because he'd be in everyone's starting lineup. That dude was a production machine. And so I'm super, super excited to get him on. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Jeff Garcia, former 49ers quarterback, will be on live with us to talk quarterbacks. And we'll be able, again, I'm also not going to let him off the hook and going to talk to him about some good old stories from back in the day. So, yeah, Steve Young and Garcia were both ahead of their times. Both way ahead of their times. Man, could you imagine if they couldn't touch Steve Young and they were able to keep Steve Young healthy? Man, that would have been good times. So, super excited about that. Adrian saying that's when he became a Niners fan. Garcia to Owens, Hurst in the backfield, good old days. Well, absolutely. Those were the good old days. That's when I became a fan and really started watching the 49ers and becoming a fan. So super, super excited about that. Man, this guy said he's been playing fantasy football. You had Steve Young and Barry Sanders on one team back in the day. Man, you're aging yourself. That's when you had to wait for the newspapers to come out so you can get all the box scores and manually add up all the points. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Want to know all about Garcia. Go see T.O. He was telling the truth about the situation. Ooh, I don't know if we're going to try and get into any I know that's tough. But I'm excited, man. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. So if you guys want to ask a couple more questions to wrap up this live again, we've gone all over the place. It started with Trey Lance's pro day. To recap on my thoughts, again, he did absolutely nothing to detract from what I personally thought he was. Again, everything that he showed me at his pro day is pretty on point with what you see on tape. He has the clean throwing motion, really stout and strong, and has the ability to let the thing rip. I mean, you've seen the spiral. Dude throws the ball on a line. So again, the pro days don't do anything. They don't rise or lower stock. Your evaluations as an evaluator, and for any one of you guys who, they're getting into like scouting and doing this and understanding the process throughout, you should already have your opinion made up of who these players are before you get to your pro day or before you get to these pro days. Essentially, the pro days are just to, I would say, more of the feel. You're just getting more of a feel for who the player is, their personality. Do you guys gel? Having the ability to talk to them in person or watching them rep in person. Those are the kinds of things that they're looking for. The evaluations have been made. The tape has been watched. The tape has been broken down. Like what we talked about earlier, they make the trade up to number 3, knowing 100% who they're going to take. And when did they trade up? Over a month ago. So I truly believe then, and again, after watching their press conference, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly who they were going to take. And it was just, again, about watching this whole process be kind of tied up or what have you. So honestly, in my opinion, even Fields, like we made a big deal about Fields pro day. It didn't change anything. It really didn't. It just, again, it's more of that recency bias that comes along with it, being able to watch these guys throw the ball in real time. Just gives you, again, a different feel other than what the tape would provide. But again, these pro days, from an evaluation standpoint, don't do much. But for the officials at them, again, what matters is trying to scout the integrity, trying to scout the personality, trying to scout communication, trying to scout processing. Those are the kinds of things that I would imagine these guys are, showing up to try and get a better handle of how they communicate and talk to each other. What's the vibe? That's the kind of thing. And of course, they want to go see you perform while you're there. All right, we're here. Perform. You're a competitor. Let's see it. And so that's what I think pro days are. Pro days are set up to make you look good. They're set up to do things that you've repped, and they are asked through a 49ers lens this time around. It's a little bit different with what they're actually executing. But I think, honestly, it all falls into line at the end of the day. And with how Trey Lance did, seems like North Dakota State social team was told explicitly not to show footage of photos and Kyle smiling or otherwise showing any interest in Trey. Yeah, I can guarantee you the North Dakota State social team had very explicit guidelines of what they could and could not post. And you're right, we haven't seen any happy pictures of Lance and Coach together. It's definitely a much different vibe coming out of North Dakota than it was with Justin Fields. So again, I think today was it was good to see Kyle and John and Rich Scangelo out there to be able to be on site to witness Trey throw, do all those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, again, they've already got this figured out. They made the trade 2-3, knowing who they were going to take. I think they're just going through the process, going through the motions. Again, they have a chip they're sitting on. That could be traded. And so, again, it benefits them to have these quarterbacks, these top 5 quarterbacks go as high as possible. Because you want these top 5 quarterbacks to fall out of reach from any other team who needs a quarterback, so that if they decide to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, they at least do so with the highest value. So that's going to be the interesting thing to monitor for me. As I get ready for the NFL draft and get ready for the next 10 days, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see who trades up to 4, if that occurs. So I want to see if there's any movement there to basically confirm that 4 quarterbacks are going to go 4 in a row. So I want to see that. I want to see if there's any movement from other teams. I want to see what the communication is like between some of the teams that aren't going to get a quarterback and the 49ers, and essentially just see what occurs on draft night, because I think that's the night that Jimmy Garoppolo would have the best chance of being moved, or shortly after that. Again, tinfoil hat on. We're just taking all the information, funneling it through the crazy brain, and trying to make sense of it. So with everything that we've seen thus far, I am anticipating Jimmy could be moved. We don't know. I don't know. Again, that's tinfoil hat. It's tinfoil hat season. We're just, again, taking the information and we're funneling it through ADHD brain and processing it and spitting it out the other side. And that's what my brain tells me, is that we're waiting and seeing what happens on draft night. I still feel Fields at 3. Honestly, today's pro day just almost made me feel that even more. Again, Trey Lance did nothing to take away from anything. He had good pro day. Again, only things that we were able to see or the good throws that they've released. We don't know if he had bad throws. We don't know if he's a miss. We don't know any of that. But I still feel it's Fields. I still feel that Fields is the more complete evaluation, at least from an evaluator standpoint. Again, I'm outside looking in. I don't have the access that these guys have. But from the outside looking in, just feels like Fields is the more complete eval. You can feel a little bit more confident in his integrity, in his off-field, and just who he is as a person, based on the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, having experience with him since he was a junior in high school. Watching his development all the way through. I just feel like it just feels, again, going off feeling. So we'll see. But until then, 10 days, tinfoil hat season. There's going to be more smoke screens. Pretty soon it's going to be 99% that the 49ers take Mac Jones at 3. And then they're going to actually say it's 150% chance that the 49ers take Mac Jones at 3. And guess what? We're still going to be here saying we don't believe you. And until it's done, then it's done. I'm not buying my Mac Jones jerseys. I hope you're not either. Because that's something you wait for. You don't rush out and buy a Mac Jones jersey. So again, tinfoil hat season, 10 days until the NFL draft. Again, all you guys here on live, this is what draft day. It's not going to look like this, but we're going to be doing live draft day coverage. So be here, support the page. Again, appreciate all the likes, the subs, all of that kind of stuff is huge for our brand and this page as we continue to grow. But we're working towards the draft. We're going to be live during the draft, doing analysis of every single pick. First round, second round, second and third round. 4th through 7th, we'll play it by ear because that's going to take a long time. But we're for sure going to be here live for the draft. So make sure you tap in. We're going to be able to break all that stuff down. And hopefully you get to see me react to the 49ers taking Fields at 3. And if it's not Fields at 3, and let's say it's Mac Jones at 3, you will get an epic reaction video. You won't be disappointed, to say the least, if you're just looking to laugh at someone else, because you'll be able to laugh at me. So it's going to be really interesting. To see what happens. I'm probably not going to come on later. Today is me and my wife's 8-year marriage anniversary. She's at work right now, but when she gets off work, hopefully we're going to do something special. Shout out to my wife, man. Shout out to her for letting me do this stuff and being able to talk to you guys all the damn time. Wouldn't be here without her. So got to shout out the wife on the 8-year anniversary. Crazy life we got going, but it's a fun one. So we're going to keep this thing rocking. I appreciate you guys saying congrats. That means a lot. That does. Appreciate you guys. Oh, man. You're going to make me get even more red than I already am. Can you make a guy who's already red more red? Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So the point is, I won't be back here later on tonight to talk more with you guys. We got to celebrate the wifey tonight. So, I appreciate you guys. You guys are making me all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. You guys almost feel like an extended part of my family. I feel like I deal with you guys so often and so much. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, and get ready for Jeff Garcia tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be going live. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, that will be happening on Instagram. So make sure you guys come over to Instagram tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jeff Garcia talking quarterbacks. It's going to be a good time. So as always, I appreciate you guys. And I look forward to our conversation tomorrow. Next time you'll see me, you'll be seeing me talk to Jeff Garcia. So it's going to be a blast. And really, really excited. So again, appreciate everyone. And I hope you all have a great, great night.